This week on Stay in the Truck, we're going to preview college football week 1. We also have a special guest on the show, Carl Johnson from the MGM Sportsbook at the Beau Rivage. So grab you a cold beverage and let's go. Welcome to Stay in the Truck, the ultimate podcast for sports enthusiasts and avid gamblers alike. Each week we'll provide you with invaluable insights, analysis, and tips to elevate your game. We can be found on all major podcast and social media outlets. See the show notes for details. Stick around to the end to hear this week's most boneheaded sports moments with our Stay in the Truck Awards. So let's jump right into this week's show. So guys, I am super pumped about this week. We have football Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and Monday. This is week 1 of college football.
What are your takeaways from week 0, Jeffrey?
The Navy defense was terrible.
The Notre Dame offense was good. Notre Dame, they beat Navy 42-3. Notre Dame covers. The game goes under, unfortunately, thanks to 2 missed field goals, one by each team. I had the total at 50.5, and you see they only scored 45, so damn kickers.
So Sam Hartman looked good.
Yeah.
You know, the defense looked really good. It pains me to say this because I am not a Notre Dame fan, but Notre Dame actually looked pretty good.
They did. They surprised me. I didn't think they would steamroll Navy to that degree. I mean, I saw them winning, but certainly not like that.
And, you know, we talked about Navy getting away from the triple option, going to try some stuff. So Al Golden, the defensive coordinator for Notre Dame, he come out, I think it was yesterday, and said that all this practice they did on Navy, there was only 4 plays that they knew Navy was going to run. So, yes, Navy changed the offense and still couldn't execute against Notre Dame's defense that didn't know.
Navy's a dumpster fire. I told you guys last week Notre Dame was going to walk all over them. I said, bet Notre Dame to cover. It's not even going to be close. I was right. Navy is so bad. I mean, they were 3-7 last year. They didn't do anything to really improve. At best, they got worse. They'll probably be lucky to go 3-7 this year.
At best, they got worse.
At best, they got worse.
Yeah, I know guys who bet over 5 wins for the season.
Yeah,
they're in
trouble.
It's already been adjusted to 3.5.
I'm not jumping on the Notre Dame bandwagon with you just yet because Navy is so terrible that I'm not throwing my chips in. I'm not ready to give Notre Dame the keys to the city. You know, they're going to go 2-0. They got to flop this next week.
Tennessee State or something like that.
Yeah, the week after that, they'll go to, I think they go to NC State. Anyway, it's NC State on the 9th. NC State will give them a game, at least something, a little bit of a challenge. And if they walk over NC State, we'll really know how good they are.
Yeah, I mean, their defense they held Navy to 169 yards, 43 passing yards, and no touchdowns.
They only threw, 6 times?
Something like that.
Yeah, it was like 6 or 8 times, so it was something ridiculous. So, yeah, they didn't change their game plan much like we thought they would. So let's move on to USC and the San Jose State game. What did you guys see there other than USC's defense still needs some work, no doubt. They gave up 396 yards of total offense to San Jose State. Yes, that is the San Jose State. 198 yards passing, 198 yards running. Allowed them to average 6 yards a play. And, Jeff, what'd you say?
7.3 yards per rush.
Whew. Good luck playing a decent team with that defense.
A national championship contending team did that. Nothing's changed.
Good job, Bear Alexander.
Yeah.
Way to go from Georgia. Did you see where he came out on the news this week and they asked him how he felt about USC's defense after leaving Georgia and being on that defense going to USC? And he said, it's the same.
Oh, my God.
Not the same. Yeah. Not the same, kid. Good try.
Yeah, with the rotating in and out, it allows you to catch your breath, make a few more plays. So now he's in on every play. Good luck, Bear Alexander. I hope you're in tip-top cardio shape.
Here's the thing. I looked into San Jose State, and I looked up on some of their stuff, and we knew their quarterback was a veteran. He came back. We knew they were going to score. I actually said USC would win big, but they weren't going to cover. But here's the big takeaway for me for this game. Obviously, Caleb Williams played well. He didn't play as good as he should have against the San Jose State defense that I thought was somewhat not great. He only had 278 yards passing. And 78 or close to 78 of those yards was on a flop play where the running back knocked the ball out of his hand. He picked it up and chunks it all the way down the field and just happened to have a guy there. So I thought Caleb Williams, obviously we know he's going to come around, but I thought he actually looked kind of bad to me, honestly, when I was watching the game. But they're freshmen.
18 of 25 for 278 and 4 TDs. I didn't see what you were seeing, I guess. But.
Well, he was scrambling for his life, throwing some checkdowns, throwing to some guys that were past their route at the point of playing yard football, just get open football.
Right. They're not going undefeated.
No, it didn't flow, and so I would like to take back my pick from last week of USC. Possibly making it to the Final Four.
So I think we're all in agreement. He is not on the Heisman train this year.
No, I'm not going to say that. Caleb Williams still could be on the Heisman train.
He's going to put up stupid numbers. I mean, when they have to score 56 points a game, he's going to put up some.
The big takeaway, you know who might get on the Heisman train?
That freshman?
The freshman, Zachariah Branch. That kid was the number one receiver coming out of high school. He, what did he have? He had
4 receptions, 58 yards, and a touchdown. He averaged 14.5 yards a reception.
Yes.
He's good.
On top of that, he had a 96-yard kickoff return for a touchdown and a 66-yard punt return plus 1 receiving touchdown. So that kid is legit. He's one to watch. I think he put himself on the map this week. He runs a 10 300 meters out of high school and a 21-second 200-meter. For those of you who are not track guys, a 21-second 200-meter means he's getting to full speed and staying there. So the kid can motor. I like him. I like the way he looked. I wish he was on the East Coast with them dogs. But
before we get off the game, though,
yeah,
like the total come out at 62.5, got bet all the way up to 66.5. Mm-hmm. These two defenses, they combined to give up basically
1,000 yards.
1,000 yards.
1,000 yards. I mean, I don't see how anybody. Number one, why the defensive coordinator Alex Grinch is still the defensive coordinator. It's just because Lincoln Riley. I don't know what he has on Lincoln Riley, but that is
some
not
some of them pictures.
He's got those Urban Meyer pictures in his back pocket.
That's right.
I do have a question for you guys. Mm-hmm. So this junior, Quali Conley for San Jose State, he had 108 yards
on 6 carries.
Why? So that's my question. Why did he only touch the ball 6 times?
Because they got down 21 points.
Yeah, so they were just in a hurry to come back with that running clock. They didn't have a choice. They had to throw the ball.
But that's why, I mean, they had to get away from the running game because the defense couldn't stop USC. I mean, that's just how it all worked out. But moving on, guys, let's talk about the end of the golf pool season. Unfortunately, it came to an end last Sunday at the Tour Championship in Eastlake, where Victor Hovland at a plus 450, he was the second favorite there behind Scotty Scheffler. He shot a 63 in the final round, becoming the 3rd youngest FedEx Cup winner.
He was making birdies at the end when he didn't even need to make birdies.
Yeah.
It was a hell of a showdown there on the back 9 Sunday between him and Schauffele, though. I mean, that was must-watch TV there.
Well, the whole round. I mean, so Schauffele actually shot a 61.
Yeah, he pulled away. Hovland was pulling away from him a little bit on the front 9, though, from what I remember. And then, but back 9, man, it was must-see TV to the last 3 or 4 holes.
But look at these stats for Hovland, though. 4th in strokes gained putting, 1st in strokes gained off the tee, 1st in tee to green, 1st in total strokes gained. 4
wins in a season, that's Tiger-esque from the old days. I mean, he won the Hero World Challenge, the Memorial, the BMW, and the Tour Championship. I mean, guy's playing lights out. Not to mention he finished tied for 3rd at TPC, tied for 7th at the Masters, tied for 2nd at the PGA, 19th at the U.S. Open, and 13th at the British Open. He's in top 20 in there, all 4 majors. Good luck. I don't know. He looks like a force to be reckoned with going forward.
Now the downside to the golf tournament was Scotty Scheffler, who was 2 strokes up on the field, starting the tournament, the favorite to win it. He ended up finishing T6th, 30th in strokes gained putting. Yep. Last in the field. He was 3rd tee to green, like he's been in the top 3 all year long, tee to green, but putting is killing him.
Well, here's the thing. So he finished up averaging 68.65 scoring average. So that's 7th all time. We all know who the 1 through 6 is, right? The big cat.
Yeah, for our younger listeners, because you made a reference to who? You said Hovland was
Tiger Woods, y'all.
Tiger.
For our younger listeners, who is
our
Tiger?
Younger listeners?
Right.
How old?
We have so many.
How young do you need to be? I mean, my 8-year-old knows who Tiger Woods is. Come on, man.
Here's the thing.
This guy's an icon.
This cat shoots. He averages 68 scoring average, and he's having a horrible putting year. Well, I mean, what could have been, right?
Yeah. Well, I pulled up Scotty Scheffler's stats, just end of year, basically all of the tournaments he's played this year. He's first in strokes gained off the tee. He's first in strokes gained approach to green. He's sixth in strokes gained around the green. And then going back to what Jess said, 150th in strokes gained putting. So the guy is an absolute menace until he gets on the green, and then he putts like a blind man.
Just imagine if he was half better. Imagine if he was 75th. Imagine how many tournaments he could have won.
Right.
I mean, but yeah, golf season's over, and they've changed the schedule now. It doesn't start till January now instead of
it's
November,
a true calendar year
true
season
calendar
now.
year.
Yep.
So are they still starting off in Kapalua? And
But yeah, they'll start in January. They're on a full calendar year back again. They used to start in the fall. They've gotten rid of that, so they're back to the full calendar year. So they got a little bit of time off, play the Ryder Cup, and then get ready for January all over again. So switching gears now to Major League Baseball, from college football to golf to baseball, let's talk about the Seattle Mariners, who have been on an absolute tear since the All-Star break. They've gone 30-14, and they are now tied for the AL West by 1 game over Texas and Houston. They were 6 games back at the break and 16-1 to win the division. Current odds are plus 165. So obviously the Rangers have gone ice cold. They've lost 9 out of the last 12. But what are you guys seeing in the Seattle Mariners?
Julio Rodriguez is just on a tear. He's carrying the team. They're pitching. Look, they traded their closer at the All-Star break. They traded their closer and like 2 more guys. So everybody's thinking they're just going to sell, right? No, didn't happen. I mean, they played terrible baseball the first half. You know, they were a playoff team last year. So they had high hopes. If the damn Seattle Mariners win the AL West, it's going to hurt my little pocketbook because I've got the Astros bet, and it's ridiculous.
Your little pink pocketbook?
I was looking at my MLB.
no, it's orange with an Auburn logo.
Well, the Mariners have a great pitching staff. They just weren't getting offense the first half. Since the All-Star break, the Mariners have second best offense in baseball by OPS and the second best pitching staff by ERA behind Toronto since the All-Star break. So kind of interesting finish to the season for the Mariners. The last 10 games, they've got 7 games versus Texas and 3 games versus Houston. So that could decide the AL West right there.
Yep. Something baseball put in a couple of years ago. You know, they want to keep these games. They want to make them mean something at the end, kind of like what the NFL did a few years ago when they changed the division games to the end of the year, so everybody's just not sitting out and all that. So it's going to be a great race. Got to be pulling for the Astros. So
Got to be pulling for the Braves. Go Braves!
Yeah.
well, hey, listen.
All right.
If I can get the Astros and Braves in the World Series together,
You can make out like a bandit.
Pink pocketbook would
Hey,
be loaded.
I might
again.
get me a bigger pink. I might have to get a bigger pink pocketbook.
Did anybody see the news on this Little League World Series finish?
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, what a hell of a game.
Oh my gosh! So this kid Lewis Lappy, do y'all know the backstory that led up to this championship game? So
Do
let
not.
me give you this backstory real quick. So the Little League World Series is a double elimination tournament, and Lewis Lappy's team out of California loses to Texas. Well, you can only pitch 8 innings in a certain time frame, right? And so if they were to make it to the championship, that gives them 3 more games to play. So they come back the next inning, and they pitch Lewis Lappy, who's their all-star, 6'1", 12-year-old. So they pitch him 3 innings in the next game.
Did you say 6'1", 12-year-old?
6'1", 12-year-old.
Wow. Check his ID.
They pitch him 3 innings after their loss to Texas because they need to make sure they win this game. He only strikes out 9, and then they pull him from the game in 3 innings. So then they go on to win that game. Then they go to the semifinal game, and they're up against, was it Texas again they played in the semifinal game? Yes. So they played Texas in that semifinal game before they got to Curacao. He pitched 5 innings in this game, struck out 10. They win this game. So now they're heading to the Little League World Series Championship against Curacao, and he can't pitch.
Can't pitch.
He's pitched his 8 innings.
Does MLB have an NIL deal for their Little League guys?
If not, they're about to. This kid's a star already. So they get to the final game, and he can't pitch. So how's he going to contribute? Well, he gets on base early and gets knocked in, scores a run, and then Curacao comes back, hits a grand slam down 5-1.
Up
Ties
for the
it.
5th.
Ties it 5-5, and then Lewis Lappy comes in, walk-off home run to win the fucking Little League World Series.
All right. So let's welcome special friend of the show, Carl Johnson. Carl runs the sports book at the Beau Rivage in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Look, I'm just going to jump right into the Tour Championship. Victor Hovland, he wins the FedEx. He won $21 million in the last 2 weeks. How was the action down there on Hovland?
Yeah, look, he's one of those players that, if you've been betting golf the whole season, he's just always right there. Generally you can get a good number on him. We didn't have any huge tickets on him to win the event, but we were steady with Hovland bets, in the round matches. And interesting enough, so he picks up the win. He wins 20 some odd $1 million, which is nice. And then in looking at my futures masters preparing for today with you guys, he is the only one in the field right now that we've adjusted on. So we've adjusted him from 25 to 1 to 15 to 1 right now for the 24 masters.
Whew, that's a pretty big move.
That's a big move. But like I say, he's the type of guy that, I guess starting this year, people started betting him pretty regular, and they're going to continue to do it now.
How about him shooting a 28 on the back nine at the BMW?
Look, a lot of people don't know this about me, but that was my first career. I was an athlete in high school, wasn't good enough to play baseball at a higher level, got hurt, and then I focused on golf, and I actually turned professional in golf when I was 20. I tried to play. I traveled around for 4.5 years, couldn't get it to the next level, so I got into the business aspect of it. So I kind of know what these guys are feeling, look, golf is a strange sport, just like with Scotty Scheffler, his putting struggles. So, the chip and the short game, the putt, it don't matter how much golf, how much practice that you put into it. It's just always something little that can come up. Those guys they've been playing this their whole life. They're used to overcoming those things. You get hot, you shoot 28 on one side, and you can shoot 36 on the other in the same day. So it just depends on how you're feeling.
Yeah, I saw an article the other day where he teamed up with, I guess, a new coach, Joe Mayo. And when he started the year, he was 191st in strokes gained around the green. And then when he entered the PGA, he was 170th. And I guess he's got him getting a little bit steeper and using the spin loft when he's hitting those chip shots. And since the PGA, he's now 20th in strokes gained around the green chipping. So he's just incredibly gotten so much better at chipping and putting. And he says he's like lights out these days.
Yeah, and if you look at his full swing, I mean, his feet actually slide. He's got an unorthodox swing. He's got a lot of lower foot movement at impact and through impact, which ordinarily would give a person problems. But he does it the same every single time. That's the key. He can get the club face square onto the ball.
Well, is Roy the favorite for Augusta, or is it Scheffler?
Actually, Rahm.
Rahm.
For us, we've got Rahm at plus 750. Scheffler's at 9 to 1. Rory at 10, and then Brooks is at 12.
Yeah, Koepka.
Yeah.
I'm glad they put him on the Ryder Cup. That would have been a mess.
Yeah, I mean, he deserves to be on there. I mean,
Keegan Bradley too.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you about the NFL before we jump into Super Bowl futures and stuff. How bad is Arizona going to be? I mean, what are they doing? Are they just out just tanking, just loud and clear? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be very good. Look, I think they've got, when you see businesses start sinking, and I mean, that's what this is. I mean, they've got numerous issues. I mean, look how much money they paid, Beep, I call him, the little quarterback.
Kyler Murray, yeah.
Yeah. They sunk a lot of money into him, and now he's on the PUP list, and he won't be available the first 4 games of the year, at minimum. They cut Colt McCoy, who was probably the smartest guy in that quarterback room, a guy that could help Kyler Murray. I don't see I don't see much from them. I think their season wins are at like 4.5.
Yeah.
And I'll be surprised if they get to 5.
They're obviously a lot of things change because it's a long season as teams win and lose throughout the season. But right now, just looking at the initial setup, they're the underdog in every game. They're not favored in a single game right now.
Yeah. They to put it in perspective. Now I'm going to fine tune my power rankings. These are my personal power rankings. I keep these separate from the software and stuff that I use at work. I like to see the difference. They are 16 points different than San Francisco right now, and that number's probably going to get higher when I tweak them. Yeah.
Because they're either going to end up with the kid out of Houston, Toon, to be the quarterback, or they just signed somebody else or something. But that is just crazy.
If they're smart, they'll jump on Bailey Zappi coming out of Patriots. They just cut him.
He signed back with them.
Did he sign back?
As practice squad, yeah. Okay, well, how about the futures for the Super Bowl? What's the biggest liability to you guys right now? The Jets, Jets?
No, it's look, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize, and maybe it company wide. So I'm going to give you my regional stuff. They'll bet me totally different than they will TG up at Bogota. I think last year TG told me that his biggest liability was the Jets, and I had 3 tickets on the Jets, and I don't think the total of $1,000. So for us, they're going to hit Kansas City, they hit Dallas, they're going to hit Cincinnati, and everything that Burrow does, just because of the LSU ties, and they hit Philly. So those are my biggest liabilities, right now. The good thing is that you can't get a really big number on any of those teams. So I'm a believer that this is going to be a real different year than what we've seen. I think from everything that I've looked at and studied, I think the difference between the top team, and throw Arizona out. Let's not even put Arizona in there, but I think the difference between the top team and the bottom team in the league is narrowing drastically.
Yeah.
Any given Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, how about MVP wise? Is Burrow everything 100%? No matter what you made the number, they're still going to bet it, aren't they?
Yeah, him and Mahomes. That's what they're going to bet. And to be honest with you, we don't get a whole lot of MVP bets. But the ones that we do get, they're all Burrows, they're all Mahomes. Every now and then we'll get a flyer on somebody that's maybe 50-1, but just because they know the family or something like that.
Well, have you seen any of the sharp guys? Or have they made any big plays for the first week?
Yeah, so I got a little sharp report for you for the NFL. Right now they're on Pittsburgh plus 2.5. They hit Atlanta minus 3.5. Chargers -3. They hit the Washington under 39. The Tampa Bay over 45.5, and the Jets under 46.
You think it's safe to say that the Commanders will be the only play for Week 1 Survivor in those Survivor contests?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, it's personally, that's going to be one of the teams. That's one of the teams I'm watching this year, because I think you're going to be able to get a good number on them all year, and I think they're good enough defensively where they'll keep some games close. I think they improved their team over last year. And Pittsburgh's another one that I'm watching. I like Pittsburgh. I like over the season win total. Let's look. You can say what you want, but that job that he did last year, Tomlin, with that club was. He could have won Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I agree.
And the same thing could be said, at Seattle. They paper-wise, they didn't have anything in Seattle, and somehow he managed to get those guys squared up, playing pretty good football. Not embarrassing. So that's 2 teams that I think, Pittsburgh and Washington, that I think I can get good numbers on all year. And like I said, I think the public has the public perceives for these good teams to be better than they are, and they perceive these bad teams to be worse than they are. That's just normal. And I just don't think it's all the numbers that I've seen. I just don't think I think that gap is narrowing.
Yeah, I'm not much of a NFL bettor. I tiptoe, just a little bit, just enough to get me in trouble sometimes.
Yeah.
Maybe if I'm sitting around with these guys on a weekend, like if it's a playoff game or something, I might get into it. But I've just never had a feel for that kind of stuff. I just never know, what I want to take the underdog as much as I can, but then again, I don't want to bet against the favorite. I just, I try to stay away from it.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's hard to do because look, as predominantly males in this industry that bet the sports now, we're getting more women gamblers all the time. So this is nothing against them. In most cases, they're better than the men because us as men, we have that ego. It's something about us, the way we're built, where we can't walk into a building. You're not going to bet the Giants. You're not going to bet Tampa Bay. You're not going to. You won't bet the bad teams. You're going to come in. You're going to bet the Chiefs. You're going to bet San Francisco. You're going to bet all the good teams. And I can tell you right now, if you was to walk into the sports book, pick the 4 worst teams that you believe is in the league and bet them every week, you would finish plus money. I promise you.
Yeah, and probably get some good numbers on them too, right?
That's right. Absolutely. Look, these lines are built on public perception. A large part of the way we build lines is to make you think a certain way. We already know that the general public thinks a certain way, and we just throw that in there to where you go, Kansas City -1 at home against San Francisco. I like Kansas City wins a couple Super Bowls. I'm betting Kansas City, and and I guess what I'm saying is more often than not, if you was to take the other side of that, you're going to be plus money.
Well, looking back on the week 0 in college football, how did the book come out?
We came out all right. We didn't have a great week. The Sharps had a bad week, and typically when the Sharps have a bad week, the book has a bad week. That's their whole object, is to get on our side of the counter. So, we won a few games, and I know you had asked me earlier, if everybody was on Notre Dame, USC, and the over in USC. It was the USC over was all public play. It got there. The USC game itself, it was mixed. So, I mean, we did all right there. I'll tell you the game that probably was our biggest loss of the weekend was the Vanderbilt-Hawaii game.
Yeah.
That was probably our biggest loss of the weekend. But overall, for week 0, first week, we held our own.
Well, this new clock rule, the running clock now, except at the end of the first half and the last 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
How is it affecting these totals? Because I'll just give you an example of what it got me. In the San Jose State USC game, I had over 14 in the first quarter. And it's 7-0 right off the rip, right? Then San Jose State gets all the way down to the goal line, can't get the guys up there in time with 9 seconds left, so they just let the quarter run out, after getting the first down. So I know that at least cost me a push in that game. Not to mention how these totals are going to be, especially on these big numbers. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, look, I think this takes some time. I mean, I can tell you this: I'm probably not going to play. Definitely, I'm not going to play any first quarter totals until I've seen how this is affecting college football. Me and Michael Lombardi had this conversation off air, basically, and I believe that rules in college football, even if they're the same as pro football, I think they can have different results in the college game as the pro game. So what we're looking at, we're trying to get a base of how how this is going to be affected. What certain conferences might not be affected by this, and actually, the thought has come up, will that make more teams, teams that are trying to extend the game? You can't extend the game running it no more. Yeah, will they start throwing the football more? So it's pretty interesting, but there's a lot to be seen. If I had to make a bet right now on anything pertaining to college football, I'm going to shade the under. I'm going to look to play as many unders right now as I can.
Yeah, there's some pretty, Auburn this week, I think, is like a 52.5 on the total, and they got UMass, and I mean, there's no way. I'm like, they're not scoring no 7.5 touchdowns in that game. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, you just, and so the thought is that basically it's going to depend on what UMass does with the football offensively when they run the football. And that's what I mean. That's a big spread in that game too. That's 35.5 points, I think. Yeah. The sharp money is on UMass. And I think a lot of that has to do with the clock.
I do too.
It's going to be really interesting. That clock like that is actually going to make these blowouts smaller, because then if UMass wants to run the ball 50 times, they're going to shorten the game immensely.
Yeah, so if they would have had this, let's say 2 or 3 years ago, when Navy really had that triple option going, Navy could have kept the ball the whole first quarter.
That's right. That's a great point. You take teams like Navy, I think Georgia Tech's the same way. When you see those, and I think that's why the Sharps are banging that plus 35.5. If UMass runs the football at all, they're going to run a bunch of clock off the game.
Yeah, I saw a stat that said that it had a 6-play impact. So I don't know if that's accurate or not, but.
Yeah, and so think about that, because this is what most people don't understand, especially when you got two good football teams. Let's just take LSU, Alabama, for example. Let's talk about that. So you got two good football teams, and let's just say on paper Alabama is better than LSU. These football games are generally, when you got two good teams like that, they're generally decided by 2 or 3 plays in the game. That's it. And when you start talking about the clock affecting up to 6 plays a game, that's huge.
Well, it's definitely something that I know I learned a good lesson last week. Sitting there watching that, knowing that if that clock stopped, that's a first down. They're on the goal line. And they're probably going to put it in there, and at least I get a push out of it. But, yeah, that won't happen anymore.
I mean, it took us 1 quarter of the USC game to say, oh, shit, this clock is going to change everything.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you, if Jeff had a visor on, he'd have done his best Steve Spurrier impression.
Oh, my God.
That's some good betting advice for our listeners, though.
Fussing and cussing.
Play those unders wherever you can this year.
So I guess you guys.
I think you got to lean that way. I really do.
So this is where your power rankings, you have to factor in that whatever number.
I still don't know how to factor it in. I don't know. And look, Carl, when you think about the power rankings like that, like, do the good running teams, how much do they go up? And then how much do you dock the passing teams? I mean, how do you know?
So look, this is what you want to do. So take a piece of paper and write down. So this is going to be, you got to go off eye candy. You got to go off. In other words, what I see and the things that I see is going to be maybe different than how you see stuff. That, not that one person's right or wrong, but this is what you want to do. You want to take, you want to list the teams in order that you think are top to bottom. So you're listing the teams in order that you think are from top to bottom. Then you say to yourself, and for me, okay, I've got San Francisco on the top. I've got Arizona on the bottom. Okay. So there's your scale. Now what I'm saying is that what is the difference between this team, San Francisco, in points, and Arizona? So you get your top and bottom first. and then you start moving the number up. Okay, so Texas is my next to last team, so I've got them about a point better than I do Arizona. You know, I got the Packers way down, so I've got them about a half a point better. And you create a scale, and then every week when you watch a football game, you move that scale. If San Francisco, so right now I've got San Francisco would be a 1-point favorite on a neutral site against Cincinnati. Somebody might have Cincinnati as a 1-point favorite. I'm just telling you that's me. So if they play that game, I'm gonna move that number based on what I've seen. If San Francisco beats them handily, I'm gonna move San Francisco up a point, and I'm gonna move Cincy down a point. Now I've done created. Now there's 3 points of spread there.
Yeah.
So that's what you have to do. You have to find your top team that you believe, your bottom team, and think about what would be the biggest spread in that game. For me, it's like 16.5. Generally in NFL football, it ranges anywhere from 14.5 to about 17. And then you factor in the home field advantage, you're looking at 20 points for Arizona, okay? And then you just move it accordingly. What you're going to see is during the course of that year, you're going to see that top and bottom team probably, that gap probably close down. And as where I started as a 14 or 15 point range, now I'm in, like last year, I think I ended with a range of, 12 or 13. So you got to move it on. You got to move it every week. If your team, and another example too, let's say your team wins the game, let's say the Bills beat Seattle, and they beat them by 2 points at Buffalo. So it was a win for them, but it wasn't a good win. You know what I mean? I might leave that the Bills right where they're at, and I might say to myself, you know what? Seattle hung in there. I'm going to move them up a half a point.
Yeah. Okay. Back to the SEC while I'm thinking about it. Who's coming out of the West? Is it going to be LSU again, or is Bama coming up? Because these guys know I'm big on A&M this year. What do you think?
Yeah. Look, I've got trouble with Jimbo personally.
Yeah.
I mean,
You got Carl scratching his head, Jeff, so that can't be good.
Yeah, I've got coaching issues with Jimbo. I don't see any way that it can't be Alabama, LSU.
I agree 100%. I'm on your Jimbo train. That guy.
Yeah, and look, I hate to be like an LSU homer or anything like that. Even though I'm born and raised from Baton Rouge, but I think this is a year where LSU can make a real deep run. This is going to be an important game against Florida State. But they got the schedule to do it. They got that, I think, a November date scheduled to meet Alabama. So they got that circled, and that's gonna be their whole season right there. So it's gonna be interesting. I hope you're right. I would love to see 3 teams be able to compete for that thing, but I don't see it on. Jimbo's got to show me some stuff first.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking that they probably made him hire Petrino, or maybe not exactly by Petrino, but I'm sure they told him, okay, hey, look, enough's enough. I mean,
I know for a fact he was given an ultimatum, and that's basically exactly what happened.
Yeah, because I mean, it just all that talent year after year after year, and it's just they were just terrible the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So and I think by Petrino, I'm not going to talk about his character or anything, but he's a great offensive mind everywhere he's been, except for the Falcons. But I don't even want to. It's a little bit different, but.
Yeah. Right.
All right, Carl, I got a question for you. This one's a little personal to me, but me and my friend Chris here have a bet on the Colorado plus minus over win total. What do you see for that Colorado TCU game, and what do you see for Colorado's future this year?
Look, this is probably the most common bet that we've seen at the counter. I'm a Deion Sanders fan. Let me just say that. I mean, the people are running to the counter to bet the over for Colorado. That's all hyped by media. And I think it's unfair to Deion. I think those people in Colorado are expecting Deion to win 7 games. Me personally, I can't find 4 that I feel confident about that he's going to win.
I got him. Ceiling is 3 if they can get 3. That's what I got.
I think you're thinking spot on. You're thinking against the public because they're betting that over like it was like they read it in the newspaper yesterday.
Well, Carl, I wasn't fortunate enough to be on the trip to meet you with these 3 guys, but eventually we'll meet and you'll begin to see that just about all my thinking is against the public.
He's boneheaded too, man.
In more things than betting.
That's successful in this business. So if you can stay like that, and put up with the heat that you're going to catch from everybody else, you're going to make some money.
Well, I only went 2 picks in week 0, and I'm 2-0. So let's get this train rolling.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, look, is Georgia going to three-peat?
I'm not going to bet against them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you. I mean, I got asked that last year. Are they going to repeat? Yeah. And I said the same thing. That look, that's after they had to rebuild their defense from the first year. So I'm hearing that they're ready to roll, and I'm hearing that this is probably the best offensive unit that Kirby's going to put on the field. For those 3 years. So. The thing about it is that they're going to be a double-digit favorite in every game they play, leading up to, I guess, the SEC championship game. So the schedule's in their favor. I don't see any reason. They're going to definitely be a top 4 team at worst. So they're going to have a chance at it.
It's hell being an Auburn fan living in south of Atlanta. It is. Yeah. It's terrible.
Doing a podcast with 3 Georgia fans.
Doing a podcast with 3 Georgia fans. That's even worse.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you about that Florida and Utah game, but earlier today I saw they finally made official that Rising wasn't playing. But, man, that number has been from, 10 to 3, back to 8 to 6 to 7, and now, it's 3.5 or something?
Yeah, last I looked, we was at 4.5.
4.5, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure Florida can get them, though.
Well, Carl, I got Florida as my sleeper SEC team this year.
Yeah, he does think against the public.
Who's that?
I've got Florida as my – I don't think they're going to, win the East or anything like that, but I've got them as my sleeper SEC team. I think Florida rebounds this year and surprises some people.
I'm for that. I mean, I'm not going to second guess that at all. I mean – they have to find out, how they play football without Anthony Richardson over there. Mm. So the rest of that team, I think, was improving. I think, and just if you go by past history, I mean, they hadn't been bad very long. So they get good athletes. They're well coached. So I'm not going to discount that at all.
Did you hear that stat going on, though, about this is Florida's first out-of-conference road game in 30 years or something?
Yeah, I did hear something about that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
What he didn't tell you, Carl, though, is he has him going 9-3. So it's not like he's high on Florida. He's real high on Florida.
Yeah, that's high. That's pretty high. And I tell you what, if they go 9-3, they'll be. They'll make a statue to that dude.
Yeah, he ought to be coach of the year.
I've got. Part of that is because I'm not sold on all the media hype on Tennessee and Florida State, and I'm not buying into it. I don't think Tennessee is. I mean, they'll be good, but I don't think they're going to be what everybody says. I'm not sold on this quarterback because you can throw a ball 80 or 100 yards. Doesn't make you a football player. It means you got a strong arm. Florida State to me just doesn't seem like as a complete team as they need to be. They just seem like they've got too many holes, even though they got some great athletes and a veteran quarterback coming back. But I'm not sold on the hype. I think that the media is constantly talking about Florida State, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Texas, Ohio State, Michigan. I think they're sleeping on Clemson. I mean, I think Clemson's going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I feel like nobody's talking about Clemson. But Hey, that's why we love the game. We'll see what happens.
That's it. And there's several teams out there that, they can make a run, and they play solid football, avoid injuries. They can surprise some people, and I think you're exactly right. I mean, one of the games that I'm looking forward to is that Tennessee-Georgia game. That's going to be, that's the toughest game that Georgia has on their schedule, and it's Tennessee's season. So they're playing them in Rocky Top, and I can't wait for that.
So I've got following on the Florida thing here. Let's just say Florida's a bust this year. Does Napier have a job next year?
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be crazy to get rid of that guy. That guy is a really good football coach. And the reason that I say that is that, I had a long conversation that's one of Lombardi's friends.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's something that I've grown to know when, I listen to Lombardi. That dude knows what he's talking about. A lot of people will get upset with some of the stuff he says, but I know that guy knows what he's talking about. So, Napier's a good coach, and that would be a huge mistake, in my opinion, if they got rid of him.
I mean, he had Louisiana playing some football.
Yeah. And he will at Florida too. Sometimes it takes a little bit to. I mean, look, he's not going up against the high school teams. I mean, he's going up against the big boys.
And Dan Mullen just quit recruiting. Like there was nothing there.
Yeah, it's tough to get that recruiting back. He's got to win back the state of Florida first.
Yeah.
So that's tough to do. When you're going against Alabama, LSU, and Georgia now.
Yeah. Yeah, and Florida State, they're picking up. So if they start getting those kids back like they did back when Bowden was there, that just makes it even harder for Napier. So.
Well, if they ever upgrade, look, I'm gonna tell you that if Florida State ever upgrades their facilities,
yeah,
they're gonna be hard to deal with. I think a lot of kids don't go there now because you guys seen that movie Moneyball, the Oakland A's facility. Yeah. I mean, that Florida State facility they say is atrocious.
Yeah, which is crazy because Tallahassee is beautiful. It's beautiful down there, but. All right. Well, how about any sharp plays?
Yeah, so we got some college football sharp plays. So they're on Central Michigan at 14.5, Georgia Tech at 7.5, Northern Illinois at 8.5, UMass at 35, like I said earlier, and they're on Sam Houston at +20. I don't know nothing about Sam Houston, but there's a theme to if you notice, and you're going to see this every week. There's a theme to these sharp bets. They're going to be on the plus points almost 90% of the time.
So that's Sam Houston. So this is their first year, from FCS. And like when they made those opening lines, BYU was like 24-point favorite or something like that. And it's got bet all the way down. Just money just keeps coming in.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I don't know anything about Sam Houston, but I know some sharp guys that are taking those that are on Sam Houston.
Before we get out of here, can you just give us a quick synopsis about what's going to happen when South Carolina and UNC, when they go head-to-head on Saturday evening? What do you think? How many points do you think is going to be scored, running clock or not?
I don't. There's going to be a civil war down there is what it's going to be.
They were talking about they're trying to figure out who has the right just to wear Carolina on their sweatshirt.
Right. So see, they're already fighting about that. I mean, you're going to need a bulletproof vest to go out in the tailgate. So, I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, that game can either be very, very close or it can be, one team could blow out the other one. So I typically, as a bettor, I typically avoid situations like that just because I just don't know.
Well, before we get out of here, we got to know what's on the menu because I got all these guys watching the TikToks and stuff. So. That's probably my most asked question. I mean, you would not believe how many direct messages I get of people, women, people. I mean, the people I've never met. They're more interested in my food than anything else that I do. It's just strange how that worked out. But and look, I tell everybody, and I'm sincere when I say this. I can cook for me because I can put salt on a piece of
cardboard, and it tastes all right.
As long as you got some butter.
Yeah,
it's butter and salt.
So I eat like a billy goat, but I've kind of learned how to cook a little bit for me and my family and my grandkids, and people like it. This is I was telling them the other day on Visa, this is we're at the time of the year where I eat a bunch of wings and hamburgers, just finger food stuff, especially doing while I'm working. Just stuff that gets me through the day, and you can eat that stuff for 2 or 3 hours while you're walking around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So funny story for you, Carl. When the second time we went back to the Bow, Jeff had been talking about the Biloxi steak sandwich for like at least 2 months.
Yeah.
And we roll up in there and they changed the menu, and I thought he was going to cry. It was a sad day.
He was more pissed about that steak sandwich than losing all his bets that week.
Yeah, I was more, man. It broke my heart, man.
I'm the same way, Jeff. I mean, you can mess with my ball games, but don't mess with my food, man.
Well, look, tell everybody about your podcast, because I read where there's going to be a reboot. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so, this is something that we've been doing a couple of years now. We got one of the things that we like to say, we actually have 10 different countries, on these podcasts. You can see where people are watching you from. So we got 10 different countries that watch us. Ecuador, India, Germany. I mean, it's crazy. Some of the people where they're at and they watch us. But look, we're me and my two partners, Ryan Hyatt and Bill Berman. Bill Berman's in New Jersey. Ryan Hyatt's in West Texas. We're kind of spread out. It's hard for us to get together just with what we do for a living. But yeah, we're going to have a reboot. We're so sporadic on our night of the week. We just try to do the best that we can, but it's called the One More Podcast. You guys, if you get a chance, listen to it. We talk sports, we talk food, and just general stuff, just BS, TV shows, movies, just whatever we would talk about in our living room. That's kind of how we go about it.
Yeah, when do you think y'all going to do before NFL starts or?
Yeah. We'll put a show together before week 1 of NFL. I actually texted them last night and said, "Hey, you guys ready to do one today?" And Bill's got his fantasy football crew in town in Jersey. Ryan's ready to go. So it'll be a few days. We'll get one together, and we'll probably focus on NFL football and SEC football.
Last time we saw you, you were about to go on a trip. So how was your trip? Did you have a good time?
It was good. I had about 20 days of vacation time. I try to take it every July, because during we're fixing to hit a stretch right now where, I won't see 2 days off for the week probably. And that'll go until March Madness. So it's just kind of, you get used to that after a while. You tell people that and they go, "Damn, I don't know about that." But it's just a way of life. You get used to it, and we have a lot of fun, though.
We've been calling September 23rd as must-see TV. There's so many good games going to be on that week, that Saturday. So we're actually making a trip. We're going to be down at the Bow that weekend. So maybe we can stop in to see you.
Absolutely. If you come down here and don't come see me, I'm going to be really upset.
We need a tea time is what we need. We need to get a tea time.
Well, we can do that. Y'all just give me some notice. Tell me when you come in, what day, and I'll make sure I feed you guys, give you some drinks, and I'll try to take your ass out there and whoop it pretty good on the golf course.
Hey, my boy Josh is a pretty good stick, so.
Well, I'm about a 4 handicap, but Carl apparently was a professional golfer in his previous day, so I'm not sure if a 4 handicap's going to be able to hang with Carl.
I couldn't play you right now, my friend. I got it down to scratch a couple of years ago when I was playing regular, but I've only played 3 times in the last 2 years. I broke 80, but I've lost about 25 yards off my driver, and I'm a good club and a half sharp with my irons right now. But one thing the old man can do, I can chip and I can putt the eyes out of it.
There you go. So that course over there is no joke.
No, it's not. Fabulous golf course, Fallen Oak. It's a must play if you're down here. You guys want to go out there, I'll take you out there. But unbelievable track. Greens will run about 14 on the stemp, and they're all you can handle.
I was watching, I guess it was Saturday, on the Lombardi line, and was it Saturday you went and played in some tournament or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, I showed up for work to do the show. I had a cap on, and I was in short pants. Of course, you couldn't see that off camera. I looked absolutely ridiculous at work, but I had to come in and do the show, and then I headed over to golf course. We teed off about noon in like 112-degree temperature. But I'll tell you something. I'm not advertising for these people. I don't even know who makes the damn thing. But this IV in a bottle,
Liquid IV,
IV in a bottle. It don't taste real good, but that stuff works.
So Carl, I gotta tell you, we're trying to let you go, but Jeff, holy smokes! So we gave Jeff one of these liquid IVs in a bottle. He took one sip of it. He said, "Hot damn! I should have just swam out in the ocean and opened my mouth."
He ain't lying. That's exactly what it tastes like. I was going to mention the word goat, but that's exactly what it tastes like. But I'll tell you what, whatever's in that stuff, it works.
The funny thing is we were literally hanging our heads sitting in the booth across the street from you at the Waffle House. So.
Yeah, we were down there. It was when we were down there when you were on vacation in July.
Okay, all right, yeah. Damn.
All right, final thing. Don't let us let you go without giving us your Twitter handle and where to follow you on all your social channels, so we can plug you and make sure people follow you.
You can catch me on Twitter. At Jick Jack Johnson, I think is my handle. Yeah. I'm right there. You got any questions? I try to get to all my direct messages. It might take me a day or so, but I get to it and I answer it.
Well, Carl, man, we certainly appreciate it. We're honored that you decided and would agree to be our first guest on our pod. This is our 9th episode, so we're indebted to you, man. If there's ever anything we can do, let us know, please.
Oh, anytime, guys. Look, you guys, I learned this a couple of years ago when we started out. You just be yourself. I mean, that's what the people are going to like about you. I can't be anything but what I am, and then that's just the way it is. Some people are going to like you and some ain't. Just look at it that way and just try to have fun.
Well, it's good to talk to you, man. It's good to see you. Me and Tony will be there in 2 weeks. I don't know if Chris is going to get it or the 23rd. Yeah, so we'll be down on the Thursday. We're flying in Thursday, the 21st. So we'll see you then.
Good. All right, man. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Carl. Right. Take care.
We will be right back. So let's jump right in for college football week 1 preview. We got Thursday night games.
The first game is Kent State against Central Florida. This is going to be Central Florida's debut.
It's their coming out party.
Yeah, in the Big 12, right? And the reason why I got this game, when I put this on here, I wanted to talk about it, is, this is a Kent State team that we briefly touched on when we did our MAC preview.
Make sure you guys go back and check out all of our college conference previews that we did before the season kicked off.
So this Kent State team is the team that returns 0 starters on offense. Okay.
Nice.
Did you say 0?
0.
0.
Zilch.
0.
Nada.
That could be a problem for a senior. Again, check out our Big 12 preview where we talked about how many juniors and seniors that Gus has on this UCF team. They're well experienced. They got the firepower. Again, this big spread, 36.5. I think it's all the way up to like 38 now. So they've been pounding it.
But is Gus still running that RPO? Is that his thing?
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
is that his
it's
thing?
Just still the same old Gus.
So how's that RPO going to play out with this new running clock?
I want to see.
Because now you've got your first 2 options or for 2 of your 3 options are going to be running plays with the quarterback or a handoff. So
especially Gus's quarterback, John Reese Plumlee, he loves to run the ball.
Yep.
So that's why we talked about the clock running and these big spreads, and now this game's up to 38 points. I mean, that's 7.5 touchdowns.
Ooh, and they all have to be scored by UCF.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could get ugly, but they could run out of time to cover. If let's just say Kent State gets a turnover and punches one in, UCF might run out of time.
Yeah.
Or it might be 42-0 at halftime, and Gus kind of just calls the dogs off. He's been known to do that.
Are you staying away from this game?
I'm staying away from it. If I had, I would lean to the under just, again, because of the clock. And like I said, Kent State has 0 returning starters on offense. New head coach, new OC.
Only 4 back on defense.
Yeah. So
Yeah, they're struggling.
Yeah.
NC State, UConn. What do you think?
So NC State beat UConn last year, 41-10. NC State is returning most of their defense that finished second overall in the ACC and top 20 in several categories in the country.
Yeah, NC State's 14.5 favorite on the road. NC State replaces their quarterback who transferred Devin Leary, left out for Kentucky. They get Brandon Armstrong in from Virginia. He gets to work with his old offensive coordinator from Virginia. But all that being said,
They weren't very good when they were at Virginia.
No.
With that offensive coordinator and that quarterback.
that's right, exactly.
So
And UConn is Jim Moore Jr., head coach. He knows what's going on. He knows how to prepare a team. He's had all season to work on this one game.
he hit the portal hard too. I don't
Yep.
remember the exact number of players, but I want to say it was
There's a bunch.
like 19
Yeah, it was a
maybe or
bunch.
something. They brought in a ton of players off the portal. So I'm not saying that UConn is going to be a stud this year, but
No.
I definitely wouldn't take a Virginia offense against a UConn team and bet them to cover any spreads.
I'm going to take UConn in the 14.5 here, and I think they keep it close and go into the fourth quarter, and I won't be surprised if they win the game, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not betting on that game, but I would take UConn in the points.
You going under the 46.5 as well? Or?
No, I'm not going to mess with that. I can see turnovers. Brandon Armstrong is a turnover machine.
Okay.
So,
All right, let's talk about this game of the week, boys.
Well, I was just going to say, let's jump to Chris's favorite team of the year, the Florida Gators versus the Utah Utes. Well, it is news I had here is Cam Rising going to play, but apparently it came out in the news today. Jeff said that Cam Rising is, in fact, not going to play.
he's not going to go, man.
So that line has been fluctuating based on the news on whether or not that cat's in the game.
Yeah, I mean, preseason-wise, they come out with Utah as a 10-point favorite, got bet down to 8, 9. Then they don't know if Cam's going to play. It goes all the way down to, I saw 3.5. We talked to Carl. He said he's got it at 4.5 now. Last night, it was 6.5.
Yep. Let's move 2 points.
So,
You talk about getting your bet in at the right time. This is one of those games where
I saw it at 4 a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
I looked it back up.
if you would have played your cards right early, you would have been all right, right?
yeah, if you could have jumped on Florida and took them points. But here's the thing, man. I know Chris is a little more bullish on Florida than I am, but it's not just Cam Rising not playing. The tight end, Keefe, they don't think he's going to go either. That's a huge, huge weapon for Utah. But Kyle Whittingham, the head coach, he's insisting that this is his best defensive line he's ever had, probably his best defense and his best offensive line. So they're going to run the ball straight at Florida, and we're going to find out, right? They got monsters over there. We're going to find out how good they are.
I think that Florida defense is going to hold strong. I think what you're going to run into is a low-scoring game
Yeah.
because Florida, their offense is unproven. They got a new quarterback. They're coming in trying to get
Turnover
their shit together.
machine, Graham Mertz, turnover machine.
Graham
He
Mertz.
cannot do that tomorrow night.
And he also can't move.
No.
So he's got to throw from his hula hoop.
Yeah, we talked about that in our
He's got to stand in his hula hoop.
SEC podcast. Negative 21 net yards in 4 years at Wisconsin. So he
I'm
is
looking
not
at
running.
I'm looking at a battle of punters, and I think you get a low scoring game. I think you get a 17-21 game or something, maybe even less. I don't know, but I wouldn't bet the over under because I think with Cam Rising out, is that a freshman third string quarterback that's starting? You know, what's this kid? Unless he's just a stud that we hadn't heard about or forgot about out of high school, I just don't see it. I don't see them being able to pull it off.
And there's a couple of more factors. So you think with the hurricane, Florida left today, flew to Dallas, practiced in Dallas, staying in Dallas overnight, and then flying to Utah in the morning. Okay,
That's a lot.
You got that, plus you got the altitude. You're getting them boys out of Florida, them 350
They ain't gonna be able to
pounders.
breathe.
I'm telling you, people don't think about that kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
it matters.
Altitude.
And look, we're not even sure about the depth on Florida's defensive line anyway. We kind of outlined that too. If they can't get them guys in and out, and Utah, if Utah can establish the run,
If they can dominate the line of scrimmage.
Dominate the line of scrimmage, keep Florida's defense out there. That could be a problem.
But even doing that, what are you going to get? You're going to get a 14-3 half.
I think it's a low-scoring game.
28-6 ish. I don't know, man. I'm so up in the air on it. It all depends on Florida's offense. Can they run the ball? Can they establish, create some first downs, and control some of the clock?
Yeah, they got some running backs there.
So
yep.
I'm not touching the line. I'm actually thinking Florida's going to keep it closer than most people. I think it's going to be a really tight game, and Florida maybe even be able to pull it out with Cam Rising not playing. I think it's a pick it. I really think it's a pick game at this point because there's too many unknowns. So if you're going to bet it, my instinct is to play the under.
Yeah, and look, and remember this too, guys. Like, this game really, in the grand scheme of things, does not mean anything to Utah. They have to win the Pac-12 to have a shot. Losing to a Florida team, now, depending on where Florida ends up at. Now, if they're only a 3-win team, then, yeah, that's going to matter. But if Florida goes on and has a decent season and Utah, let's just say this is the only blemish on their record, and they win the Pac-12 again for the third year in a row, then they'll have a shot. So this game, yes, they want to win. Sure, I'm not saying they're going to go in there and just throw it away. But Winningham's not going to risk getting everybody hurt and being banged up when conference play starts in 2 weeks. So,
all right. Moving on to Friday.
Yeah, Friday, September 1st, we got the Louisville Cardinals versus the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck.
Yeah, and this game's actually, it's moving all over the place too now. This total's been bet down to like 48 now. I've heard some really sharp guys on Georgia Tech in the points. The points that the sharp guys were making were, yes, Louisville has a great head coach now, but they got a new quarterback. They got a new offensive coordinator. They got to run in a whole new offense. You know, yes, they've had all offseason to work on this, but they're going on the road to a Georgia Tech team who, look, they finished 4-4 to end the year last year, right? So I don't know. I already have expressed my displeasure for what I think about what Georgia Tech's going to do or whatever, but I would go under this game. I had under 49.5, under 48. I mean, 7 touchdowns beat you. How many touchdowns is Tech going to score? And then there's one more game on Friday. It's the late game, and it's on the island down there. Stanford's going to travel to Hawaii. And the only reason I wanted to touch on this is just to show people how these lines can go crazy, okay? Stanford come out in the offseason as a 10-point favorite over Hawaii. They took that up and got bet all the way down to Stanford -7. That was last week, Stanford -7, when Hawaii was about to play Vandy. Now, when Hawaii almost upset Vandy,
right,
went down to 3.
Yeah, I mean, Hawaii really surprised me last week. After Vanderbilt beat the brakes off of them last year, I really thought it was going to be a similar story this year, but
we
did
too.
not happen. Yeah.
We did too. That's
Hawaii
one of the bets we lost
surprising.
this week.
And Hawaii's now 9-1 in their last 10 games against the spread. So.
Hey, listen, I think that Stanford is a shittier version of Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt only beat Hawaii by a touchdown, so I think Hawaii's got a chance to win this game.
Yeah. They're at home too.
Yeah.
Now look, the travel, coming back, they spent all week out there in Nashville, going back to Hawaii. Of course, they got all the other stuff they're dealing with over there. But
Vandy beat them by a touchdown, and Hawaii threw 2 picks.
But I just wanted to let people know, if you see something you like, do not wait to bet it. Get it. You could have had Hawaii +10 or Hawaii +7, and now you'll have to settle for either a 3, 3.5, or 4, just wherever you're at. So.
Yep. And that 8-1 versus the spread, like
9
Jeff said.
9-1 now, yeah.
Yeah, 9-1 versus the against the spread over the last 9 games. That's critical. So Hawaii looks like a good bet there.
Real quick, I want to jump back to Thursday because I forgot which day it was on. One thing I want to touch on, Nebraska, Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Nebraska, Minnesota. You got Minnesota favored by 7. I think Nebraska is going to come out kind of strong. I think Nebraska is going to come out with a little chip on their shoulder. I think they got something to prove. I don't think Nebraska is going to beat Minnesota necessarily, but I think it'll be a close game. Nebraska's got they've got a freshman, Malachi Coleman, 6'4", 190 pound. He was the #1 player in Nebraska last year coming out of high school. I'm looking to see him make an impact out of the gate. So I think that's I think taking Nebraska in the points is a solid bet on that game right there.
I will throw in a little nugget in here. So Nebraska hasn't won an opening weekend game since 2019.
I like it. The odds are in my favor then.
So you're saying they're due.
The odds of them doing it again.
May the odds forever be in your favor.
That's right. Thank you.
All right,
Katniss
jumping
Everdeen.
into the main slate on Saturday, September 2nd. Let's talk about this Eastern Carolina versus Michigan game.
Yeah, Michigan will be without their fearless leader, Jim Harbaugh.
He's got to
Gonna
quit.
make a
Got to quit
huge
buying them
difference.
hamburgers.
Yeah, and they're still a huge favorite. 36.5. It's probably even more than that now. You got your total at 51.5, and I'm just wondering, will East Carolina even be able to score against that defense? Because one thing Michigan does have, they do have a defense now. Maybe not against TCU, but they got a defense for schools like Eastern Carolina now.
Yeah, they're going to keep the game plan simple. They're just going to pound the ball with Corum and Edwards, it seems like, and they're not going to be stopped.
Now they're going to run down the throat. I got Michigan 41-0. I got playing the under, covering the spread.
Yep.
All right, moving right along to the Colorado TCU game.
Blowout.
So I wouldn't be surprised here if Colorado wins this game. I got to be honest with you, Chris. Look, as my old friend used to say, if you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. And if you play good, you get paid good. And I think Deion's about to get paid versus this TCU team. I think he's going to come out and just show off and just win this game.
Well, I guarantee you his contract said he's going to get paid good whether they win or lose.
Yeah, I'll give my opinion on this when we go to our pick section.
All right, fair enough. Moving on. Akron and Temple.
Yeah, so this game here, it's 10, and I've seen the total's been fluctuating anywhere from 52 up to 56, so I got it right here at 54.5. These are two teams that Akron, terrible last year, dead last in the MAC. They do have explosiveness on offense. Temple, they can't stop anybody, okay? But guess what? They can score. Temple's QB is Kurt Warner's son.
Did not know that.
Yeah, he can sling it too now. So they're going to score some points. There's going to be some fireworks in this game.
All right, moving on. UMass versus Auburn. Jeffrey, this is your squad. What do you got?
Let's skip this and move on to Georgia.
This is your 2010 national champion Auburn Tigers going to open the season.
War Damn Eagle.
Under new tutelage of head coach Hugh Freeze. Thank you very much. This game right here, Auburn, huge. 35-point favorites up to 37.5. Seen it as high as 38.5 this week. You got your total right there sitting at 52.5. I'm going to give you some little details about the quarterback for UMass. Tyson Pumachan was a Clemson, 4-star kid, went to Clemson, didn't get any playing time. Ended up going to Tech just for a hot minute and transferred up to UMass, he's from that area. So last week against New Mexico State, he was 10 of 17, 192 yards, 0 touchdowns. He carried the ball 17 times for 96 yards with a touchdown. So automatically Auburn, their defense, suspect all last year. They got to be able to contain the edges, right?
Well, he's the only offense they got.
That's all.
So all they got to do is focus on him.
They got to. So I look for Jaquez Hunter, our running back, to have a big day. Shane Hooks in the red zone. He's the kid out of North Texas. So we'll see, but I wouldn't lay the points with this again. Going back to this clock thing.
No, Auburn's got the talent to match up on the outside, man up on those receivers, and then put everybody in the box and shut this kid down.
You're staying away from this one too?
No, it's a dead under game for me. 7.5 touchdowns. I don't think you're going to see it. And plus, I don't think Hugh Freeze is going to go out there and do nothing stupid either, knowing that he's got the SEC schedule coming up here pretty soon. So
I think you go UMass on the points. I think you get a 38-10 game. I think UMass does squeak a few points in there, maybe a late touchdown after a field goal early. And
I can see it.
38-10 is what I'm picking. I'm taking.
I can see it
with UMass in the points.
All right, fair enough. University Tennessee Martin versus UGA. Go Dogs.
45.5 and 56 as the total. Big numbers.
Ooh.
Big numbers. I'm calling upset alert right now.
Upset alert.
On the spread, or
Are we still talking about the UGA
gets the
game?
spread or straight up?
Yeah.
I got a bet for you.
Upset alert my ass. Yeah. This is going to be I'm going to be looking to bet Georgia in the first half, if not the first quarter, just depending on how crazy that number is. I think Carson Beck's going to go out there and
I think
boom,
he's going
boom,
to show
boom.
out. Yeah. He wants to show out early. He wants to prove a point. He wants to prove everybody that he can pick up the slack where Stetson is gone now. I think we talked about this game a ton in our Dog Show podcast, and I think if you're listening to this, go jump on there and take a listen to that as well. I've got Georgia 49-3. I think they're going to be. I wouldn't touch the line, but I think they're going to slide under just a little bit.
I mean, the unknowns in the second half. What does Kirby do? Does he pump the brakes? I mean, that's the problem with this type of game.
Yeah. Tennessee beat them by 41 last year. I just don't see University of Tennessee Martin being able to score on that defense. But
no, well, especially with replacing their quarterback and their running back, and I mean, the whole offense is getting remade for UT Martin. So
All right, let's jump into this Nevada versus USC game. Obviously, USC won handily last week, but the defense struggled a little bit. So, what do you guys got here?
Yeah, the total, the spread's up to 40 now. Southern California, they're up to 40, and the total's sitting there at 66. If you're going to bet on USC, or on a USC game, I should say, bet the over. Last year, they were 11-3 to the over. After this game last week, now they're 12-3 in their last 15 games to the over. I wouldn't lay 40 points with them, no matter who they're playing. But I would definitely, I'd look to the over every time until the odds makers say they hang like a 78 up there or something like that.
Yeah, I think Nevada's a turd. I got USC maybe like 58-17, roughly somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be close. I'm not going to bet it. I'm not going to bet the over, but if I was going to bet this game, it would be over. If I had, if I'm going to look at a USC game to play on, it's going to be on the over. So
moving on, Washington State versus Colorado State.
Very interesting game here for a lot of guys. I know there's a lot of sharp players who took Colorado State early in the year. They were able to get plus 14 on this game when the line come out, and you see it's been bet all the way down to Washington State minus 11.5. Total of 54.5. I like the under in this game. Colorado State's 9-2 to the under in their last 11 games. They're 6-2 in their last 8 games against the spread. They covered the last 4. They have a total revamped offensive line that was god-awful last year. I'll speak a little bit more on that when we get to our pick section.
All right, New Mexico versus Texas A&M. Jeff, we know you're high on Texas A&M.
Yeah, I'm high on Bobby Petrino and the boys, but this is another massive, massive spread. 38.5, total of 49.5. To me, if you're going to bet a game like this, you correlate. You do a correlated parlay. You take the dog in the under, or you take the favorite in the over, because you figure if you're betting on the dog, it's going to be close, right? They're going to keep it. They're going to keep it close.
Yep.
And there probably won't be a lot of points scored. Not with a massive line, not with a massive spread like that. And then if you're going to bet on the favorite, well, you want them to score every time they get the ball.
Agreed. All right, and then the kind of marquee game, if you want to call it that.
I mean, this next game is like the game of the day, right?
Yeah, for Saturday, for sure. You got South Carolina Gamecocks versus UNC, the old Drake May versus Spentler Rattler show-off. May lost his wide receiver Josh Downs last year, but he's got incoming transfers Nate McCullum and Tez Walker to help ease the pain. They last played in 2021 in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, which the Gamecocks won 38-21. And the Gamecocks have won 4 of the last 5 matchups, but I've got UNC in this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna give my opinion when we get to the pick section on this. I know Tony's high on South Carolina, so
Middle Tennessee State versus Roll Tide.
Again, we have another huge point spread, 39.5. I've seen it all the way up to 41 in some spots. Total of 51.5. Listen, Alabama has been a first half juggernaut as far as covering spreads, or at least they were up till last year. The prior 3 or 4 years before that, they were covering every first half spread. They couldn't make the number big enough. I think maybe that might continue in this game, at least in the first half. I think they're going to run the ball. Just don't know if Middle Tennessee State can stop them. They don't match up with them, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Bama by 1,000, but it will be interesting to see what they do in the quarterback situation. Obviously, they got Jalen Milroe, Tyler Buckner, and Ty Simpson. I see them playing all 3 of them, kind of getting a feel for where they're at. But, again, how much passing will actually be required or needed versus this Middle Tennessee State University team? They're probably just going to pound the rock and just win easily and control the clock.
45-7, Bama rolls.
Stays under. I just
And
again.
that's because MTSU gets a late touchdown.
Well, look, so
2 minutes left in the game. Prevent defense.
I know I've said this 100 times, and I'm going to say it again. This running clock. If Bama does what we think they're going to do, run the ball, right? They're going to eat the clock up.
Yep.
They're going to eat the clock up. And how are they going to get to 7.5 touchdowns? Where's it going to come from?
When I'm looking at it, and I guess the score of the game, right? And right here I've got 45-7, which is 52. And I look at the over-under 51.5. That tells me that I'm too close in my guess to even mess with it.
Fair enough. All right, West Virginia versus Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State, 20.5 point favorites, 50.5. This game, to me, I lean to the under probably more than anything in this game. I've read reports, I've read stories about Neil Brown. This is if he can't get it done this year, he's going to be fired from West Virginia. He's lucky he didn't get fired last year. So he's going to simplify everything, and he's going to try to control the clock. He wants to get back to running the ball like he did when he was at Troy. He wants to run the ball. Now, the only problem with that is in this game is that defense for Penn State, they're for real.
Yep.
They're for real. Now, West Virginia, they have a pretty good defense. They're not up to the standards of Penn State. But again, Penn State, they never pour it on anybody, ever. So they're gonna showcase the freshman, Drew Aller. Let's see what he can do. But I lean under in this game. And if it was to go to 21, I would take the points.
I like it. All right, moving on to Sunday, September 3rd, which is the probably matchup of the entire weekend. LSU versus FSU.
College football Sunday.
This is a season-defining game.
Yeah,
it is.
I mean, I've got LSU winning the West. I got Jaden Daniels right up there in the Heisman run. So I think LSU takes this one. They're going to have to stop the run. FSU is going to have to put some pressure on Jaden Daniels, but I think LSU just outlasts them in the end with a critical stop or two that seals the game.
They got a lot of weapons over there. I highlighted the tight end Mason Taylor here. That's Jason Taylor's son for people who don't know.
How about that shit?
So he come on at the end of the year there. That's just another weapon to go with Malik Neighbors and the other receivers that Daniels has at his disposal. They have a solid offensive line. Now there's going to be questions on the defense. The defensive backs, again, they gave up too many yards last year. You know, they went from being DBU to DB hoop. And I don't know if that changes, but we're going to find out because Jordan Travis is going to test them.
I think it changes. I think they out-athlete them, and I think I think they're going to be more physical on the defensive backfield. On the outside, I think the skill position players for LSU are going to be physical. And I don't know, man. I think LSU beats them by double digits.
You know, LSU, the defensive tackle, Mason Smith, he's going to have to sit out this game for signing autographs last year, or actually I think it was 2 years ago. The NCAA just levied the suspension last week.
Yeah, I saw some article today, which I don't know how much truth is in it, but I heard LSU was trying to schedule a week 0 game so that he could sit out that game and be back for this one.
Yeah, and he missed most of the year. You know, we highlighted that last week. He was celebrating in the Florida State game last year, the first game of the year, celebrating, and he come down and tore his knee up. So he didn't even get to play, majority of the year. So he was looking to have a big breakout season here, and he's a hoss, And then today, running back Brian Kelly said that he wasn't going to get to play. So now they had him third on the depth chart, but he's a hoss too. So. Yeah. When I hear things like that, it just kind of get a little, okay, what is going on here now? One after another, it's just bad vibes. So, and I don't know if weather's going to play a factor. It shouldn't, right? They're playing in Orlando. It should all be gone.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's gone now.
But the total's falling. That's something, it's all the way down. I saw it as low as 54.5 today.
Ooh.
Now, I don't know if that was just a lot of people steamed it because of this hurricane, thinking, and it could very well go back up. But
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 38-24 LSU. I'm going with some extra points and a double-digit win.
All right.
I'll give my opinion in the pick six.
Jeff's keeping us on the seat of our pants. All right. So, finishing up the Labor Day weekend, Monday, September 4th, we got Clemson at Duke.
Yeah, Cade Klubnik. All eyes will be on him and Riley, the quarterback for Duke, who might be the best quarterback on the field that night. It's a big, big game for Duke. After the year they had last year, they won a lot of close games. You have to wonder about that going into this year. And then Clemson, they've got to get it together. We're all predicting them to have a really good year over there. But they're laying 13 on the road, total at 55.5. I kind of lean to the under. I think Clemson's defense.
Yeah, I think Clemson's defense is too strong and too fast for Duke.
I do too.
Yep, agreed. I think the Clemson defense is going to wear them down. Clemson has won 5 in a row and 10 of the last 11. I think we all agree that Clemson's going to probably be in the college football playoff at the end of the year, winning the ACC. So.
Yep.
All right, perfect. So let's. You guys ready to jump into our week 1 picks?
Yeah. How do we do last week, man?
I was 2-2, 2 missed field goals, and Vandy just
Vandy.
Terrible.
I was 2-0. I had Notre Dame to cover, and I had USC to win big but not cover.
Yeah, last week on the pod picks, I was 2-2. I had a loss on the total of 50.5. I went over 50.5 in Navy and Notre Dame, and 2 missed field goals cost me that one. Hit the under on UTEP and Jacksonville State. That total was 54.5, and they scored 31 points in that game. Had the under in Ohio against San Diego State.
I was surprised Ohio, after talking about Ohio, I really thought they were just going to show up.
Quarterback got hurt.
Yeah, Chris was high on Ohio.
They'll still do well in the MAC.
Yeah, quarterback got hurt. Once the quarterback took that hit, that was it. That was it.
San Diego State.
Team. Yeah, they scored a total of 33 points in that game. I had under 48.5, and then I had Vandy minus 17.5 in a quote-unquote get-right game, and yeah, they got right, all right. Got right into my pocketbook.
Solid as a ball of hot wax.
That's right. Right. I'm 2-0 on the week. On week 0, I got Notre Dame covering big because I knew Navy was a hotbed of garbage. So then USC, I had them winning big, but I knew they were going to open up the gates for San Jose State to walk on into the end zone quite a few times, and I picked them to not cover in that as well.
All right, Jeff, the sayer of all things betting. Why don't you give us our week 1 pod picks and who you're going with?
You want to go last, Jeff?
Yeah, I'll go last.
Yeah.
I don't have any.
You don't have any, Josh?
No,
you got any tea?
I have got a couple. I've got South Carolina winning, got Florida winning, and I have LSU winning.
So you're taking South Carolina plus 2.5?
Yep.
Florida plus 4?
Yes.
And LSU minus 2.5. Okay.
All right. I'm going to follow that up a little bit. I agree with T. I think LSU is going to cover. I think they're going to cover by a lot more than 2.5 because I do not buy into the Florida State Seminole hype. We'll soon find out if we're right or wrong on that. I'm taking Nebraska plus 7. I don't think Minnesota can cover. I think Nebraska's going to come back, play hard. I think that I think Clemson covers this week, so I'm taking Clemson to cover. That's and then I got TCU to cover. So I got LSU to cover. I got Clemson to cover. I got TCU to cover. And then the 2 dogs I'm taking UMass in 35 against
It's
Auburn.
more than that. You'll get more than that.
Whatever. Yeah. If it keeps moving, I'll take all they'll give me. And I'm taking Nebraska at 7. So I got 2 dogs and 3 favorites.
Well, I've only got one that I'm going to mention this week, and that's the Colorado in 21. I'm going to take that 21 points and Colorado and watch Neon Dion do some work.
You only said that because I said TCU's going to cover.
Hey, it's actually 20.5 now.
Yeah. Okay, it's come down a little bit. That's even better. Yeah, baby, give it to me. I'll take it all. I'm gonna take Georgia as well there, what? Just because I'm a Georgia dog. And hey, man,
so you're gonna lay the 45.5,
Jeff? So we talked a little bit again in our podcast last week about Georgia went deep because we're all dog fans here. But you had me, so I thought I'm thinking they're going to take Carson back out second, third quarter. But you have got me fully convinced now that he's going to want to see a little bit of that Bobo playbook. He's going to want to keep Carson Beck in there a little bit longer. And so I think Carson Beck stays until early fourth quarter, and I think they do work.
I mean, I think he needs to work. You know, he needs to get involved in that playbook, and that's just an Auburn guy's opinion, and somebody betting on him on the Heisman. So, I hope he throws for 7 touchdowns and 800 yards. But
yeah, you and me both.
My picks for Week 1, we're going to start Thursday night, 7:30, CBS Sports. North Carolina State travels to UConn. I'm going to take UConn Huskies plus the 14.5, or 9-4 against the spread. UConn's got 9 offensive starters back, 8 on defense. Taquan Robinson, they got him out of Penn State last year. He tore his ACL up, quarterback. He's back this year. Veteran line, they got 3 running backs. Jim Moore likes to control the clock. Meanwhile, NC State, 4-9 against the spread. They gave up 127 points on the road. They got a new OC, a new quarterback, and their number 1 target, wide receiver, left to go to West Virginia. So if NC State wins this game, they're going to have to win it closely. But I think they might be on upset alert. Second pick of the week, Friday night, 7 o'clock, ACC Network, Miami, Ohio versus the U. 17.5 with Miami, Ohio. Miami, Ohio returns 7 starters on offense, 9 on defense. Their quarterback, Brett Gabbert, he's back. They got another quarterback in Avion Smith who played the last 4 or 5 games last year. He's a runner, so if they get in a tight spot, the kid can run the ball. Meanwhile, the Hurricanes are 6-16 against the spread as a double-digit favorite, 5-15 in their last 20 against the spread. Their QB, Tyler Van Dyke, apparently he has a hurt thumb on his throwing hand. He got it caught up in one of his defensive lineman's mask. They're not saying he's not going to go, but I can imagine that that's not going to be a good thing.
He ain't going to be 100% if he goes.
And his backup, Ja'Cory Brown's a sophomore. He only has 2 starts. So Miami is, again, if y'all go back and listen to our ACC preview, you'll hear everything you want to hear. I'm not on that Hurricane train. So I'm going to take the 17.5. Then my next pick is going to be Saturday at 12 o'clock. Colorado at TCU. TCU minus 20.5. Going with them. I think Colorado will keep it close early.
Oh,
but
interesting take.
But the defense is just full of holes, and he has no depth. Prime's got no depth on that defense, and TCU and Sonny Dykes will wear them out. He will flat out wear them out. He'll throw and throw. Morris, the quarterback, will throw and throw and throw. He's going to have a big day. By the end of the third quarter, TCU will be up by 4 touchdowns, and they'll cruise.
Yeah, 45-10 is what my pick on that.
Yeah. Then my next pick, Saturday, 3:30 ESPN, UMass at Auburn. Auburn 37.5, total of 52.5. I'm going under. Tyson Pumachai, the QB for UMass, they're going to make him one-dimensional. The defense for Auburn, they have to contain the edges. They got a solid back. The DBs are solid back there, so they're going to shut them down. The only real threat might be wide receiver Simpson for them, but that's not even a threat. I look for Peyton Thorne and Robbie Ashford both to get playing time. Jaquez Hunter, Damari Austin, the sophomore running back, he's going to have a big game. Not even sure if they're going to let Hunter play yet. And there's still questions about that. He's still number 1 on the depth chart, but there's still questions if he's even going to get to play. You got a wide receiver, Hooks, who is a senior out of Jackson State. I think I said North Texas earlier, but he's out of Jackson State over there with Deion. So when Deion went to Colorado, he wanted to come over there to Auburn. So that's good. We got Jair Shorter, who's a senior out of North Texas. He's a playmaker. I think the real mismatch to watching this game, number 99, Jason Jones, 6'6", 340. He's our nose tackle. He's going up against Josh Atwood. Terrible. Josh Atwood he's the center. He was terrible last week against New Mexico State. I don't know how he's going to control that big monster. So I look for this. It's
going to be devastation up front for UMass.
I look for this to be low-scoring game, or I say low-scoring. UMass, if they get to 10, good for them. My next pick, Saturday evening, 7 o'clock, CBS Sports. Washington State against Colorado State. Washington State's 11.5, total of 54.5. I'm going under. Colorado State averaged 13.2 points a game, 4.5 yards per game. Failed to score 20 points in any game last year. They were 1-11 to the under. Their last 8 games, the total was only 46, and they still went under. Colorado State, the one thing about their defense is they got a great passing defense, and they can rush the passer. So Cam Ward for Washington State, that's what he does. He throws the ball. So I think this game is going to be a low-scoring game, and I'm going to take the under 54.5. Again, back to the running clock, guys. It only stops twice. Right 2 minutes for the first half and the last 2 minutes of the game. And, of course, incomplete and out of bounds, but we're going under in that game. The next pick will be Saturday night, 7:30 ABC. Gamecocks against the Tar Heels. UNC's 2.5, total of 64.5. I'm going over. South Carolina defense only returns 4 starters. Their top 2 defensive ends transferred. This is a defense that they were number 92 in points per game. They gave up 420.5 yards, good for number 98. They gave up 202 yards rushing. And the UNC defense gave up 31 points a game and 437 yards a game. I think Spencer Rattler's going to have he's probably going to be able to do whatever he wants to do, and I think Drake May's going to be able to do whatever he wants to do.
Track meet.
Yeah, track meet. Then my next game, Sunday evening at 7:30, LSU at Florida State. I got LSU minus 2.5, and I got the game going over. You know, we see so many times in these games now, these two teams, you know, you think defense, and you got two Heisman hopefuls here, and they're going to score points. Mike Norvell scores points. Brian Kelly knows how to score points. The weapons that Daniels has, Neighbors, Thomas, tight end Taylor, he's got a couple of running backs. Can Florida State, is their defensive line, their defensive ends, are they good enough to beat that offensive line at LSU? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so. So, you know, FSU was 0-3 last year against ranked opponents, and they gave up 84 points in those losses.
And I don't think much is going to change this year for them.
I don't either.
I don't believe
really
the hype.
And then I got two bonuses. I'm gonna call them. I'm gonna try to give y'all at least one of these a week. These are called my blowout picks of the week. Arkansas State at Oklahoma. Oklahoma 36, 58.5. Oklahoma's offensive coordinator Jeff Livy, as a double-digit favorite, he's 11-5 against the spread. He averages 47 points. Quarterback Dylan Gabriel, he's a Heisman hopeful too. He'll have a big game. Oklahoma's defense should be able to create a little bit of havoc against an undermanned Arkansas State team. Arkansas State was outscored 313 to 162 in their 9 losses last year. They have a terrible offensive line. Their quarterback, they got the transfer out of Colorado and J.T. Strout. He threw for 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Had a QBR of 25.2, good for 121st. Arkansas State and Butch Jones got some major problems. Then I got one more blowout of the week for y'all. That's Saturday at 3:30 on ESPN. South Florida goes to Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky's 11.5, total of 70.5. I'm going Western Kentucky minus 11.5. Let me read y'all these defensive stats for South Florida. They returned 9 starters. They gave up 43.1 points per game, good for 130th out of 131 teams last year. They gave up 526 yards a game, good for 131st. 7.6 yards per play, good for 131st. 241 rushing yards per game, good for 131st. 6.4 yards per rush, good for 131st. 285 passing yards, good for 126th. 73.1 completion rate, good for 131st. 9.5 yards passing per attempt, good for 130th. Third down conversion rate was 127th in the nation. And their best player, running back, Brian Batty, is now on the plains at Auburn. He leads with 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns.
Well, I say their defense is consistent.
Remind me how many teams there are?
Consistently sucks.
Well, last year there was 131. Now there's 133 because Sam Houston and Jacksonville State come up, or Jackson State. So we're going to go Western Kentucky minus 11.5. Their quarterback, Austin Reed, threw for 4,744 yards last year, 40 touchdowns. He rushed for 224 yards with 8 touchdowns. Wide receiver Malachi Corley, 101 receptions, 1,293 yards, and 11 touchdowns. They're going to light him up.
Goodness gracious. Great balls of fire.
That's what we got.
All right. So let's roll right in here to this week's Stay in the Truck Award. So I'm going to kick us off. Last Saturday, ESPN College Game Day. We love the College Game Day. Analysts Desmond Howard, Pat McAfee, Kurt Herbstreit, they all made their picks for the year, and every one of them had Alabama Crimson Tide to win the SEC on Saturday. That's fine, and that's not really the gripe that I have. My gripe that I have is with Desmond Howard. He's a big Michigan fanboy. He didn't even have Georgia making it to the playoffs, which is just crazy because Georgia's double-digit favors in every game they're playing this year. So my stay in the truck this week, Desmond Howard, stay in the truck.
Yeah, stay in the truck. Oh, by the way, he picked Texas A&M to win the national championship last year.
All right, perfect. Well, my stay in the truck award this week goes to Venus Williams. Now, I love Venus Williams. I love some tennis, but look, we get it. You were once the best player in the world. You won the U.S. Open back in 2000 and 2001, but now you're dealing with a knee injury. You're 43 years old. You're still coming into these Grand Slams. You've lost in the first or second round in each of the last 12 Grand Slam appearances, and you were defeated 6-1, 6-1 by a qualifier into the U.S. Open tournament, her most lopsided loss ever. So, love Venus Williams, love what she used to do in the past, but I think it's time to hang them up. So, Venus Williams, stay in the truck.
Yep. Stay in the truck.
All right, so my stay in the truck this week goes out to those two clowns in Colorado that jumped onto the baseball field and bum rushed Ronald Acuna. Man, first of all, you're talking about the league MVP. One guy went out and kind of hugged on to him, holding on, but the other guy actually went out a little bit aggressive, like he was trying to take a shot. So my stay in the truck is actually a combination of stay in the truck. It goes out to the shitty security staff that couldn't get to these guys before they got to Ronald. And then these two guys for just being complete turds and rushing the field. It's not called for. Leave those guys out there to be professionals and let them do what they do. So you two bums and you slow-ass security guards, stay in the truck.
Stay in the truck. Well, mine is something I've harped on this whole podcast.
The NCAA?
That damn running clock. Listen, this is not the NFL, okay? We can go look at college baseball. Why don't they use wood bats there instead of, well, it's not Major League Baseball. College football is not the NFL. No matter how much they want to make it, no matter how much they want to pay them, whatever, it's not the NFL. I enjoy watching 6 extra plays on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, okay? Or 8 extra plays or whatever it is. I enjoy the way that the offenses get to move up and down the field, the way the coaches control what's going on out there. This running clock, even from a better standpoint, it's terrible. I hate it. Let us have our college football and let the pros be pros. It's that simple to me. I don't know what they're, whether they speed up the games to show more commercials?
Playing devil's advocate here, as an athlete and the way they've extended the college football schedule and the wear and tear that football puts on you, and then the possibility of going to the bracket, the 12-team bracket. You take some of these top teams and you take over the course of a season, they play 12 games. And then if they go into a bracket and have to play, you've got college kids at this point playing 14, 15, 16 games. So, I agree with you. I don't like it because I want to see more of my team or whatever good game is on. I want to see it last longer. But from a health and safety standpoint, I think it might have some long-term positive effects.
Yeah, well, it could.
But it's screwing up all Jeff's betting numbers here. So
definitely got me last
Just
week.
wanted to point out the other side of the spectrum.
So, yeah, time clock, stay in the truck, NCAA Rules Committee, get your head out of your ass.
NCAA.
Stay in the truck.
Stay in the truck.
That's it for this week's show. We really appreciate you tuning in. Please remember to like, subscribe, and leave us some comments. Let us know how we're doing. Stay in the truck.